How are the vibrations there, Nivek?
Um, fantastic, fantastic. If you could just raise your veil for me there so I can really get into that beard and give you a
I
proper
I was reading. Maybe it was in that Vulture article. Was it like people saying they grew up watching ZOVEK on TV, and it became
Mhm.
like a thing when they saw like an attractive woman, and they'd be
Yeah.
like, "I need the good vibrations" or something like that. But
Yes, yeah.
anyway,
He
no one knows
became the
what we're talking
meme.
about yet. Shut up, Nick. You
No,
big
they don't.
idiot. Yeah,
Okay.
he's Nick, and
Hmm.
I'm
Yes, I am.
Buff Bambo, and this
Hmm.
is Film Crack Crack.
Hmm.
Is that right?
Though I do prefer
Yes. Okay.
the incredible Professor Nicholas is my
Oh, okay.
that's my
El
nom de guerre.
Incredible. Is that
That's
how
the
you
one.
pronounce that? Incredible?
Incredibly? Yeah, I'm not sure.
Incredible.
My French is not very good, Clive.
Yeah,
Mi
but it's like
español no es muy bueno.
it's better than mine though. Um,
Well, maybe.
and because you have cause,
Um,
because you have actually been to Mexico. I never have.
I've been
So
to Mexico a couple of times, yes, and I did take a couple of years of Spanish a very, very long time ago at university. Um, but anyway, so Clive, this was your choice. You lined up a couple of films for us to watch this
yes, I
week.
forgot.
So
For some reason, this seems very much a Nick choice. So, but
it
yes, these
does
are
it
my
does feel
yes.
like it should be
You
me.
you do tend to choose your. Were these on your radar, or were these a surprise to you?
No, not at all. I have a question actually about one of the actors in the first film, the guy who is uh, Tin Tan, right? Who
Oh
is
yes.
outrageously overacting and pulling all kinds of faces and gurning.
Oh,
Is he? Was he?
I was
Was
gonna say
he
he's
in
quite
the
restrained in this. Like,
compared to how he is
yeah,
normally?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, but I was thinking, is he not? Is he the guy who the like Super Saiyan, or is he and just
No,
or is he just another one of
no,
those
that
guys
was
like that? There was.
yeah. Well, there's him. There's a long tradition, right? There's him, Pingo, whatever the fuck his name is. There's Tintan, who I think
Hmm.
might be the original, and then of it in the second
Okay.
film we've got another one, haven't we?
Yes.
Who's
Yes, we do.
particularly
Yeah.
idiotic. Um,
Yep.
no,
Hmm.
Tintan, you might know. I mean, Tintan is yeah. I think he might be the OG of these kind of comic relief people, and was a proper
Right.
star, and you know films he starring him. There's loads of them, but you may know him
Okay.
from. There's a film called what's the original title? La Casa del Terror, um,
Hmm.
which under Jerry Warren became Face of the Screaming Werewolf with inserts for the American market. Have you ever seen
Oh,
Face of the Screaming Werewolf? It's like a
I
werewolf
don't
in a
think so.
wax museum film.
Sounds good, but no, I don't
Well,
think I've seen it.
what's interesting about that, we will start the show properly soon, don't worry, and actually tell you
Hmm.
what we're talking about. But what's interesting about
Hmm.
that, and it's fascinating, the more you get into, I think I sent you the links before to the Dead to Rights website has this whole like it's been going on for years now, and it's a real treasure trove. Someone, I forget his name, blacking on his name, started this column over there. It started as a Ed Wood Wednesdays or something like that, and it was just started
Hmm.
with them looking at each of the Ed Wood films, and then just went fucking out of control. And there's like
Hmm.
hundreds and hundreds of posts, and it's fast. You should take like a day and just read it all, right? Because
Okay.
it's basically I've never seen anyone go quite so in depth on the life and work of Ed Wood, and it goes into like all way beyond like the later porno film. It goes into like all the porno loops that he might have done,
Wow.
and to the extent like look, I found in this Swedish erotica of 26 the same
Hmm.
red pattern carpet that was in that other Ed Wood loop. We know he directed,
Mm.
so and they keep adding. It's insane, and
Right.
people like us, it's dopamine fucking injection straight to the brain. I
Right.
absolutely love that website. But the reason I mention it is there's a few films that have come up over the years which are like really borderline, like rumors that Ed Wood might have directed. Like I suppose on the
Mm.
outer limits of it is that one, the Hollywood Meat Cleaver Massacre. Like no one's quite come down for sure, but it seems as if
Hmm.
Ed Wood may have directed some of that. But the one film I've oddly enough not seen crop up, and I might not have been, it might be in some places, but I know it's in my book, is Ed Wood might have directed bits of Face of the Screaming Werewolf. And
Okay.
the reason being, there's a scene. So in the American inserts, Lon Chaney Jr. is a werewolf. And there's a
Okay.
scene where he climbs up, like, like old buildings where the cornerstones like jut out so you can like
Hmm.
climb them like stairs. There's a
Yes. Yeah.
scene, and there's a bit in the Nightmare of Ecstasy book, Rudolph Gray's book about Ed Wood, where someone says something along the lines of, "Oh yes, we were." Ed managed to get it, later on in life. Ed managed to get a day's work on some movie or something, and we were filming Lon Chaney Jr. as a werewolf climbing up and he was drunk out of his mind and all
Interesting.
that stuff. And I was thinking, oh,
Hmm.
this has got to be this
Yeah.
film, right? So it's an interesting Ed Wood connection,
Hmm.
but no one's like, it's not definitive. But
Hmm.
anyway, and Tin Tan's
Funny,
in
we'll
the
be coming
original
back,
source footage, yeah.
and we'll be coming back to Ed Wood, I think, because his name gets thrown around a lot when it comes to the second of the two films we're going to talk about. Although I don't think it's a very fair comparison
No,
to
to be
either
honest, Ed Wood
Ray Cardona
in
Jr. or to Ed
general,
Wood.
yeah, in general, people bringing up the name of Ed Wood is mostly done by morons who don't know what they're talking about. Like
Hmm.
Ed Wood is a specific
Um,
thing, and it's one of the.
right.
I think a lot of people now get fed of people referring to someone as if you're going to reference Ed Wood, you have to have your ducks in a row and know what you're talking about because you can do it. I've done it myself, but it
Mhm.
has to be in a specific. It's not just a bad film. That's very
Mhm.
lazy to refer to someone as.
Yes.
That gets right up my nose when people do that.
No, because there's a transcendent nature
Exactly.
to the badness of an Ed Wood film, which can be true of other filmmakers as well. But anyway, let's
But it's
let's
a
talk
very
about.
specific, it's a very specific woody kind of like when you hear a bit of because that's one of the ways they've identified some of the Ed Wood films as well is by the dialogue's a clue. Like it's not
Right.
bad dialogue, it's like a particularly type of that's weirdly profound and incredibly stupid at the same time
Yes.
in a very Ed Wood way, right? He's got a turn of
Hmm.
phrase which is just it's unmistakable, right? Um.
Hmm.
Anyway, we're not here
Yeah,
to
the
talk
man
about
was an
Ed Wood.
he's an auteur. No, we're here to talk about Francisco Javier Chapa del Bosque, better known as El Incredible Professor ZOVEK.
I think is it pronounced Zovek?
Well, it could be, it could be, but
I
apparently
think
I read
I
that
heard that
the,
on yeah,
the stress though is apparently on vec, which is
Zovek.
so it's not ZOVEK, it's ZOVEK.
Yes, but no,
Um,
but what I mean is it's not a z hard, it's more like a
right, yes, it could well be
Zovek.
a
Yeah.
ZOVEK. Which apparently was the second of his because he was originally like Agent X1 or
Yes.
some
Yes.
weirdly um like yeah Italian ripoff of James Bond
Yeah,
kind
I
of
was gonna say that's
sounding
exactly what that
name.
sounds like, doesn't it? It sounds like yeah, Agent XX7 or something in
Hmm.
Istanbul or something like that. Or yeah.
Yeah. Um Starring Gordon Mitchell. But
That reminds us, we do have
yeah.
to dig. I think we have to because it's hard work, obviously, because only like two of them are good or something. But we do need to do a Film Crack Crack Eurospy special at some point, and get a collection of like good ones, right? Because it's still, I
Right.
think it's still an area that you and me are quite
Oh,
interested
yes.
in, but haven't
Yeah.
really haven't really
No,
tapped the gold yet, have we?
I need to go back to the book, right?
Yes,
The
the
one done
Euros
by
by
the
guy.
guys who did the cheese, yeah, the cheese plant uh fellas.
Yeah, good book.
Um, yeah, so we should go back there and maybe dig in a bit again and see if yeah. But anyway, that's for the future.
Mm.
So, Professor Zowek apparently what had polio as a child, right? We
Yes,
understand. Couldn't walk. An uncle of his did some sort of experiments on him. This is the at least the myth of Zovek. Some kind of strange experiments. At one point, Zovek then shows up in front of his family walking, and they're like, "It's a miracle," and he says, "No, this is by an act of pure will."
right.
Um,
Yes.
it was just
I do wonder
fantastic.
if the
Um,
uncle had a basement full of freaks, like in the second film as well.
I, I think that's very likely. Um, then yeah, so then apparently gets into like bodybuilding and martial arts and escapology and mesmerism, and he's like your one-stop like an entertainment factory, pretty much.
Yes.
Um,
Apparently, again,
Manages to
I don't know how true this is. Apparently, some Japanese TV producers, right?
yeah,
They booked him to be on some like yeah, incredible things of the world show or something, and they assumed they were brothers because they were. It was the escapology was considered like the Mexican Houdini, right? But also
mhm,
a mesmerist and a strong man who did like 8,000 sit-ups live on air and stuff like that.
yeah,
But
yeah.
no, he's a
Pulls
one
trucks
man
with his teeth.
package. Yeah, he's
Hmm.
like Houdini, Jeff Capes, what's that fella, Urigel, it all rolled into
Yes, yes,
one with a
yeah.
stupid leather headband.
Yes. Yeah, and just vaguely, and in these films, luchador adjacent, not actually a luchador, but
No, that's true.
some
He
of the
does
same
chuck
trappings.
some zombies around, and yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
He
Um,
would fit
so
in
yeah, apparently,
if there was any. If,
oh
he
yeah,
would have fit in one of those Champions of Justice or something like team up films, right? It could have been him, Blue Demon, Mil Mascaras, and Super Zan or something like that, right?
yeah. I mean, and we may well have gotten that if he hadn't died while filming his second film, right? Because apparently, supposedly, he was signed to a nine-picture deal.
He didn't die on making the film, though, right? Didn't he die like
No, not during. No,
right?
he died while it was being made, but no, he didn't die on the set.
No, but
Though
it was
interesting
like a
enough,
stunt, wasn't it? It was like a helicopter stunt or something gone
yes,
wrong. Yeah.
he was flying over a supermarket as a favor to somebody. Apparently, they were opening a new supermarket, and he was there to do a stunt. And but there's all these questions. I mean, like I guess we should talk about these now before we get into the films.
Mm.
So the same there's quite a good lengthy Spanish language kind of essay about him I was able to find, which I then Google translated into English.
Ah,
Um, and
and didn't send me the link, you fuck.
yeah, sorry. But so
Do you
the
see what I have
um
to work with,
the
viewers? The
the
secretive
the helicopter
nature.
the helicopter pilot was a Javier Marino Arroyo, who was also the helicopter pilot in the film, the second film we're going to talk about. So,
Okay,
like, so they would have known each other
not the
from
zombie.
this. Not well, maybe I don't know,
Okay,
which might explain his poor handling of the machine. So, I guess the stunt was supposed to be that he was supposed to come in and then um,
he's hanging from a ladder,
Zovek
is
was
he, under the helicopter?
yes, yeah. Yeah, it's like a rope ladder hanging out, and look, Zovek was supposed to like tug on it to let him know he was off safely. And the guy says he felt the tug, so that told him he was supposed to take off again. So he went up really, really high, and Zovek was still on the rope. And then as he turned the helicopter, Zovek fell to his death in front of his wife and children, which is pretty awful. But then this stuff started coming out later on, suggesting um, that this guy, Javier Marino Arroyo, was not a fan of Zovek
Right.
and specifically issues with this idea that ZOVEK may have been on one of many of his hats at like a military trainer of
Yeah,
like
like a
fascist
paramilitary
death
trainer for the
squads.
right wing. Yeah, I read about this as well, but it seems like one of those really far out conspiracy theories. Um,
Hmm.
and yes, and this guy was like a leftist who and it
Right.
yeah. So yeah, it's a fascinating minor kind of conspiracy theory, which also so we should, I suppose, while we're here, we'll talk a little bit about the film Roma, right? So this was
Hmm.
Alfonso Cuarón's Oscar-winning film that came out a few years ago, Netflix thing. I have to confess, I couldn't be doing with watching. Have you seen it?
No, no.
No, I kind of started watching it and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is. So I found the ZOVEK scenes and watched them, and
Hmm.
they're not really particularly interesting, and they they don't really look a hell of he doesn't look a hell of a lot like him, and but yes, there's scenes in
Yeah.
that seem to they don't nail it exactly, but they allude to him, yeah, supposedly kind of training some sort of military type group. Um, but yeah, it's
Right.
just
Which
something
I
Quaron
have seen the.
remembered from his childhood, isn't it? And put it in the film
Mhm.
just for background and like to set the scene and
Mhm. I do like the photograph though, that like I should say like the screen cap I've seen of that scene where he if he's training them, he's doing it in his full like Zovek costume from
yes,
his like
yes,
Sunday night TV show or whatever he's in, like
yeah.
which is
Well,
particularly awesome if
it's
it was
interesting
true.
when we get to talking about the films one of these days. I think the
Mhm.
scenes of his show in that they look pretty authentic. I think they just basically that's pretty much what they
I
would have
think they did
looked like,
too.
except in black and white. So I suppose that was a bit of a sell as well back in the day was to see Zovek on the big screen in color or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, doing his shtick. Yeah, because I mean he does seem to have been tremendously popular for this couple of years um that he was in the public eye. Um
Yeah, so
but yeah.
yeah, and he came back,
Oh,
yeah,
and so one
because
more thing.
no, go
Oh, go
on.
ahead.
I was gonna say
I was just
uh,
gonna say, I
we were both gonna say
this is yes,
we
we
should we
were.
should say
I was
to the viewer that we have slight buffering issues on the Zoom, which is why we're talking over each other even more than usual. Yeah.
hmm, yes, yeah. So let me go. Um, I was gonna say one of the other things that I discovered while researching this is that apparently Mexico has its own drunk history series,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I was unaware of. And so there's a clip of an episode filmed off of somebody's TV with a phone or something of the episode devoted to Zovek. And it's quite funny. I mean, I think it's worth because I wonder, did the people who made the episode actually see either of the Zovek films? Because they recreate a section of like the second one that looks nothing like the aliens look like. Well, there aren't any visible aliens, for example, in the film. So anyway, it's kind of fun
Yeah.
to see. It was like
Yeah,
some
I
heard
saw that.
third hand what the film was about.
The thing is, I've never, I kind of vaguely know what it is, and some people say it might. I've never seen an episode of Drunk History in my life, so I don't really know what it is. So I didn't know if that clip was typical of Drunk History or what it normally looks like, or if it was different. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
pretty much.
Okay.
Like yeah, the setup is that people get very drunk and then tell a historical story, and then it's reenacted by often well-known actors
Is it good?
who I quite like Drunk History. Yeah, some of the episodes are excellent. The one about the Kellogg brothers, which stars the two Will what are they? Owen and Luke.
Wilson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the Wilson brothers. Yeah, they play the Kellogg brothers in it. But the thing is, they don't actually deliver any dialogue because all they're doing is mouthing what the drunk uh, hosts are talking about.
So
But anyway, I think
are the drunk hosts celebrities as well?
no, they're often historians or I mean, the guy who hosts the show, I think, is probably like a amateur historian slash presenter or whatever. And
Are
then
they
he gets
properly
drunk,
get
and then he
pissed?
Oh yeah, fucked up. Sometimes they throw up and stuff.
What's the point of the
So
show?
part of the entertainment of the show is watching somebody attempt to tell you a piece of history while battling against being like deeply, deeply drunk. So obviously, some are better than others. You can see some people can hold their liquor better than other people, but that is part of the fun of the show.
Isn't that what Darren does every time we record a show?
Yes, yes, pretty much.
Because,
Um,
sometimes he has to recount a bit of Shaw Brothers history or some research, and he's well in his cups usually.
mhm.
Um,
Yeah, pretty much. And then the
okay.
only difference would be if then we cut to actors reenacting the scenes that Darren is trying to talk about and then mouthing whatever Darren is, if Darren was doing the dialogue for what was going on, that would be, yeah.
Okay. So
So maybe we should think
I'm
about
taking
that.
it as a soft rec. Um, I'll get to
Yeah.
it one
If
day.
you're going to watch one, watch the Kellogg Brothers one. See if you can find
Well,
it.
I was
Check that
going
one out.
to,
If
and
you
then
don't
you
like
cut me off by saying the Wilson brothers are in it. So,
okay, then I'll look up another one then.
yeah.
Fine. Um, I don't have a problem with the Wilson brothers particularly. I mean, I don't like Shanghai Noon, but
I don't know.
you know,
And Luke, I don't know. Owen always looks a bit smug, and he's in that fella's films, isn't he? Who I also have a hard time getting on with. Who's that director who
oh,
makes
Wes
super
Anderson.
arch? Yeah, 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 yeah.
I
I don't
don't
know where
mind
you
Wes Anderson.
stand on him.
I'm fine with him. I don't love him. I don't hate him. I thought that the series of adaptations of Roald Dahl stories he did recently were very good. The ones that he did for Netflix.
All right, I didn't see them. My missus saw a couple of them and said they were all right. So
Hmm.
anyway,
Anyhow, ZOVEK.
ZOVEK,
ZOVEK.
yes. So yeah, so a little bit back in the public eye a few years ago when that Roma film came out, and then, but yes, but once upon a time he was very much he made a couple of films in 1971 and 1972, and we're going to be talking both of them. We're going to be talking El Increíble Professor ZOVEK and
Hmm.
Blue Demon y ZOVEK in La Invasion de los Muertos,
Mm.
Invasion of the Dead.
Yes.
Um, I don't think I need to translate El Increíble Professor ZOVEK. I think that pretty much speaks for
No,
itself.
I think we can. Yeah,
Yes, it does of course translate for those stupid people among you of um, Seven Shades of ZOVEK in a Cat's Perfume.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Both directed by the original Rene Cardona.
Yes, I tell you, um, as you know, I'm going through the Mexican wrestling catalog and stuff, and
Mhm.
yeah, I really craving either to stupid. The thing is, I think what's stopping us from doing it is availability of stuff in English language. But like we did Lenzi and D'Amato,
Hmm.
I'd love to do the Cardonas, both senior and junior, because between them,
Hmm.
that's a massive filmography and genuinely looks fascinating. And they have that same arc of basically doing whatever was popular, right? Um,
Right.
and pioneering a lot of it as well in Mexico. Um, I don't know, I haven't counted, but between the two of them, there's got to be at least 200-300 films, right? Um,
Oh.
but like I said, I think only a fragment of them available with English subtitles.
Unless there's been subtitle, I mean, like
Well,
fan
we
subs done.
if you, I
You
mean,
sometimes,
coming up like December time or something, there's some kind of free leech or something like that, right?
yep,
You might
yep,
want to have it on your idea to grab as much Cardona stuff as you can, and then we can
yeah.
maybe cherry pick, and we could
Hmm.
do like a Cardona special of the more interesting looking ones. Um,
Hmm.
I'm hoping someone writes a book about them or something at some point because I think it
It
is.
seems weird that there wouldn't be one already.
Oh, there might be in Spanish. I don't know, um,
Right.
but certainly not in English. I don't think, and that would be great if anyone's
Hmm.
out there writing a Cardona book. Let us know and come on and talk about it because
Hmm.
I'd
Yep.
love. And that's not it. The thing is, it's funny. it's only within the past couple of years digging into or watching all the El Santo films, and as as I'm going through and cross-referencing cast members and things, I've only really come to terms with just how fucking massive the Mexican film industry is and how
Mhm.
little of it has been, even though there's quite a bit of it
Exported.
available with subtitles, there's so much of it. There's so much Mexican like exploitation from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. It's just there's so much, and the Cardonas is just they're just one part of it as well, right? So I think we are due some sort of, we've gone deep. There's a lot of stuff out. We know more about, I don't know, like another huge industry, Japanese cinema industry. There's a lot of that stuff
Hmm.
out there now on Blu-ray, and so we're
Yeah.
we're slowly getting through
Italy.
the different strata. There's still a lot of stuff out there that people don't know about, but it's getting out there. I feel as if Mexico is maybe this has been slightly neglected, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think you're right.
There's so much stuff.
Hmm.
Um,
And there's something about Mexican cinema, and especially so what is Michael J. Weldon's definition of psychotronic? Is there one?
um, Oh, I don't know if he had a hard and fast one. I think it was just, yeah, that it just sounds right, right? It's a
Oh,
bit
it was
horror, a
like
bit science fiction.
I'll know psychotronic when I see it, basically.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly, exactly.
okay. So would you agree with me that there's a fairly strong argument to be made that every Mexican wrestling film
Oh, yeah. I mean,
is
both of these, but especially, I mean, what I was thinking more than anything else is, as while I was watching, because I'd seen the second one before, I was watching the first one, and I was just struck by fuck. It's this and some of the other um Mexican wrestler films we watched earlier for Film Crack Crack. They're
Mhm.
about as close as to a comic book on film that I think I've ever seen.
Yes. Oh yes. The faces in the first one, like all the supporting actors, all the thugs look like they were animated from like Hanna-Barbera cartoons from like 1968. I've never seen like eye patch guy with his big chin.
Yeah,
Like they're
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah,
I was like one face after another that was like they're barely those are drawings.
yeah.
Those are like Chester Gould drawings of villains, not
Yes, yeah.
actual
It is
people.
very testicle, and also more than I think it's taken me a while as well to. We were talking before about this with films from the Philippines having a certain rhythm and a pace to them, and I
Yeah.
finally kind of cracked the. Obviously we don't. It's not. None of the. It's not the Mexican film is monolithic, but a certain type or a certain time period, you've really got to slow down a little bit. So both of these films are not exact. Well, in some ways they're fast. There's a lot of stuff going on, but also there's a lot of kind of time wasting, and you've got to
Hmm.
adjust to that. And I call it like late night pacing, right? So these films are perfect for.
Yes.
You should really be watching them half drunk at like 2 a.m. or
Yes.
something.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
and
But they
and
can make you feel like you're half drunk and it's 2 a.m. when it's like 1 in the afternoon and you're sober. Something
yeah,
about the films
yeah.
themselves would bake into them.
It must have been just glorious, back in the when they turned up on TV in the 80s and thing, stumbling home from the pub, and before you go to bed, you think, I'll have a quick spliff before I go to sleep to help me sleep. And you turn on the TV and there's a ZOVEK film, and you're just there like
Hmm.
half drunk, half loaded, and that must have been just bliss, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, no question. So we should talk. We're gonna get actually kicked off here in a second. But we should start talking about the invincible,
Incredible Professor ZOVEK was
incredible
interval,
even
yes.
Professor Zovek.
Directed
Um,
and co-written by Rene Cardona, co-written by Chana Uruete, who of course is the man who directed The Brainiac, which is, speaking of
oh, of
psychotronic
course.
films, there's a classic.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yes, and starring yes, Zovek, um,
Hmm. As himself, which I
pretty
love the
much as himself.
IMDb credit.
Yeah. So this starts with so
Oh, the
Zovek,
world's cheapest plane crash is what this starts with.
yes.
Zovek, a vision of a plane crash where the plane crash is not seen or shown at all.
Well, what we
Implied.
see is we see someone like I think it looks like they like blew up some dynamite in the woods or something.
Hmm.
But you
Yes.
don't see like a plane or
No.
anything resembling a plane. There's just woods on fire and Zovek
Yep.
concentrating and looking, and then cut to him talking to like a police chief or something, and that's when we learn it was a plane crash. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
so he's talking to. At first, I thought like, oh, who's this? Who's this kind of hot chick? Is that is the police secretary or something? But I suppose she must
Mhm.
be a police officer or something of some time because she turns up later to kick some ass, right? She's not just there to be the
No.
dumb hot woman who asks stupid questions, who then Zovek mansplains. I mean, he does that as well,
There's a
but
lot
later
of
on
that.
she turns up in her
Also,
hot pants to kick people, and you're thinking, oh yeah, this chick's cool. I like her with her big hairdo and her hot pants.
mm,
We should actually name
yeah,
her.
this
Maybe.
this
She is.
this
Oh yeah. So she's Tere Velasquez.
Velázquez. Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. So she is the younger sister of Lorena Velasquez, who was quite the sex symbol and was one of the wrestling women of those wrestling women versus Aztec mummy and stuff
Oh,
films,
right.
which I believe you talked about doing some point on the show, right?
Mm,
But
definitely.
she's apparently she did like some stage work with Alejandro
Okay. Yep.
and
Hmm.
she's also in, and we'll talk about this later. She's in Night of a Thousand Cats,
Oh,
and
okay. Well, that makes
she
sense.
went to Italy, and she's in Luigi Cozzi's pretty good giallo, The Killer Must Kill Again.
So again, okay, shit. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a hell of a filmography.
well, that's just
Tara,
two or three
Tara.
films as well, right? She's in a whole lot
Yeah.
of other Mexican films
No,
I've
I
never
mean,
heard
but
of.
like those are all top-notch uh sort of psychotronic films. Um yeah, yeah, no, is she the one who quite near the beginning when they're in the office and like Zobek goes into his like sleep like he gets
No, that's
really in
someone
her
else.
physical space. Okay, that's the other cute girl.
Well,
Is
the other major cute girl is the cutest for me actually is Nubia Marti.
yes.
She's the blonde one
Yeah, yeah.
who goes with Tintan.
Yes, yeah. And then loses her entire top of her
Yeah,
skull and
she's
it's
cute as fuck when she
surprisingly
still has her skull.
yeah, no, she's an absolute hottie, for sure.
Um,
So
uh,
yes.
Apologies to viewers for Nick's use of the term absolute
Mhm.
hottie. Um,
Mhm.
but he's right. If just slightly. Actually, one of the few times he out creeps me on the show is when he thinks says things like that. But it's
Um,
interesting you mentioned that. Yeah, so it turns out there's a plane crash, and because this made me laugh. That so there's been a plane crash, and they're talking about all people on board are dead, accounted for the corpses, but Zovek, with his psychic power, is convinced that one person is unaccounted for, right, in his cover up. And yeah, so one of the first persons he interviews like a stewardess or something, right, to talk about
right.
who was on the manifest and who I don't know how this helps exactly, but what's funny is he's like relax, you must not, but he's right in her face. He's like, calm down, relax, you will relax. And I'm thinking, dude, that's not how to get so, and he's like grabbing her chin and he's like right in her face. I thought that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
But of course I'm wrong, and Jovek is a Superman and it does work, of course.
Yes. Well, I mean, I suppose he was looking for his vibrations, maybe. I mean,
Yes.
we know he's quite hands-on with the ladies and their faces specifically. He likes to grab a woman by the face, for
He's
whatever
picking
reason.
up good vibrations, is what he's doing.
Hmm.
Yes, I
Yes.
believe the Beach Boys wrote a song about Jovek.
They did.
Zovek, sorry, yes. Um, yeah, anyway, so basically what it kind of, because there's a lot of, and then Tintan and the cute blonde nubia, they go off and they trail someone, and eventually
Hmm.
what we discover is yes, there was a survivor. Yes, I'm picking up good vibrations. In that leather headband, you look like a fucking twat. And good, good, good. Anyway, there is a survivor
Yes.
in the form of Jose Galvez.
Hmm.
Um, Interestingly, directed a film called Azul about the same time, which sounds interesting, which has that Nubia Marti in it as well. So
Okay.
looks like something to look out for.
Okay, I will do.
So it turns out, yes, he and I yeah, his whole kind of I'm not really sure why it was necessary for him to fake the plane crash to survive to do what he's doing. It's,
No,
it's
no,
like
no,
no,
it's very confusing. And in
he
fact,
could
what is
just
he doing?
do what he's doing anyway, not
Yeah,
not stage a plane crash, which wouldn't lead people to investigate. You'd think that would serve his purposes better, right? But
yeah. Honestly, I couldn't quite parse what he was trying to do. I mean, he's trying to take over the world, but like the A to B connection of how he's getting there is really
yeah,
not put across very clearly. And I mean, before we get in, because I mean, really, the back half of this film is top notch. Like, it's fucking wall to wall amazing. When it gets going, I mean, I think
oh
of the
yeah,
two films, I think it is the better of the two. I quite like some of the stuff that's going on in Invasion of the Dead, but I think for me, this is the
this
winner.
this is closer to coherent as well. Like, I mean, it's
Yes.
illogical, but it plays. It does have a kind of the second one's just so weirdly like each element is so far away from each other. Um,
Yes. Yes. It almost has the feel of a Godfrey Ho film, the second one, where like
right.
you expect someone to pick up a Garfield phone to talk to a character who's in a different movie than they're in.
Yes,
Um, but
I'd love a
I,
scene of him talking to that idiot comic relief guy on a Garfield phone, and he's there
yeah,
doing his fucking his
his jibs.
yeah.
Um, but but no, I think before we get into that, it is important to you mentioned it before, but like there are these scenes earlier in the film where we suddenly cut to Zovek doing his act, right?
Oh
Like
yes, yes, yes,
we're in like a fancy ballroom and there's a bunch of tables and everyone's eating and drinking and Zovek comes out
yeah.
and Zovek's
Well,
followers are a bunch of guys with
importantly as
like
well, it's televised, isn't it? There's TV
yes,
cameras televising it.
there, yeah. And he comes out and he's got a bunch of guys with like Zovek written like there's like a Z on one guy's head and an O on another guy's head, right? And they're kind of wearing these like Spanish Inquisition death mask things. And
Yeah,
then he's
there's
got
like
the
Muslim
lady
men and chicks in bikinis, and they've all got
bikinis.
these Z hoods on, right?
Yes, yeah. And then this is where he lifts up the ladies' veils or their hoods to get his vibrations and he kind
Yes,
of kisses them
yes,
before
and
he
even a member of the audience, right, who finds
yeah,
Zobek
well,
irresistible, runs out, and
well
he's got a
he
good
gets
thing
mesmerized
going as Zobek. Zobek.
with me, no doubt. And I
So
don't
yeah,
even remember it it's
we should
because
say
the
as well.
second film.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
both films have, and they've clearly been filmed at the same time. And in
Same
fact, I think
time,
the
yes.
the first bit when he comes out, it's identical footage, isn't it? But
Hmm.
then he does a different trick
His
in
stunt
each
is
film.
different in
Yeah,
each one. Yeah,
yeah.
I think
So
the
in
first
this
one, oh yes, I
one,
think
he's
it's the
chained
drowning
up.
one. Right?
Yeah, he's put in a tank of
Put
water.
into a
Yeah,
water tank. Yes.
yeah.
Um, yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of cool and a weird little like variety TV show bit in the middle
Oh,
of
I
the
love
movie. It
it.
just
I love
adds to
it.
the general.
I love the time wasting element of these things because
Mhm.
I'm getting used to it because in almost all the Mexican wrestling films, you'll cut to a ring, and depending, it could be a minute or it could be like 15 minutes of like wrestling, and
Right.
and then the story carries on. Right?
Padding out the
Yeah,
the
it's
running
just part
time.
of the experience, and
Mhm.
you learn to just relax and enjoy it. Like
Yep.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so anyway, then yeah, so you're right. The girl and Tintan end up at the place. They get in serious trouble. The girl ends up having the top of her skull cut away and her whole brain exposed and we discover at this point that this guy is some sort of Dr. Moreau kind of mad scientist who has quite an interesting menagerie of
Well, yeah. He also has
monsters and
he has a trained hawk which he threatens them with, but doesn't really do
fuck
anything.
yes, that's brilliant. That's very what's his face in Compañeros, Jack
Oh yeah,
Palance. But
Jack
yeah, he's got a
Palance.
he's got like a he's got a trained in this one he's got a trained hawk. He does a lot of threatening their eyeballs. He's like she loves to
Yeah, she's gonna
eat.
peck your eyes out. But whenever they
Yeah.
cut to the hawk, I have to say the hawk just looks quite nice and non-threatening.
Yeah. Mm.
He's hanging out. But but yeah, so and I'm unclear about the methodology as well. Because he mentions because he has all these discussions with ZOVEK about
Mm.
the use of psychic power and stuff like that.
Yes, he's
No,
going to
you
harness
can't do
Zovek's
that.
mind.
But also, is he also using something like radiation or nuclear power or something as well? He mentions a few times, and so I don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
he's doing.
No,
But
I said his
yeah,
plans are very opaque. It's they're not
yes.
easy to get to the bottom of.
But he's got this
Um,
underground lair, and he's got a laboratory, and he's got all these cells. And oh, this is yeah. So the first sign that we have that something's a bit off is you
mhm.
hear off-screen sounds like screams and whips, and
Yeah.
people looking at, and it looks like oh, they must be looking at the most horrible thing ever. Like it sounds
Hmm.
diabolical and nightmare. Turns out to be a black dude with fangs. Speaking of Doctor
Screaming Jay
Who,
Hawkins. It's Screaming Jay
he
Hawkins, I
does have a
believe.
screaming Joe Hawkins. Speaking of Dr. Moreau, he actually looks like something straight out of that Filipino version, the Twilight people. Yeah, he looks
Yes.
like something from the Twilight people. And but best of all, and you get to see them walking around a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Best of all, he's being whipped by like two two mustachioed muscle men. I mean, they look right out of Tom of Finland, or
They
they're on their way
do
to the mine shaft of an evening or something,
mixed.
right?
Yeah. I think they've got like leather pants. They're shirtless, and they've got these handlebar mustaches that almost look like Fu
Oh
Manchu
man,
kind of
I was just waiting for
thing.
and they start dancing together. They're so cool. But they're just one element, right? They're not really dwelt
Yeah.
upon, but they're
No.
there and they've got their whips and they're whipping this feral guy with it, and you think,
Hmm.
oh, that's cool, but that's nothing. And later on,
No.
there's like fucking cannibal dwarves and
Yes.
and
And a lot of them.
there's a guy you only ever
Yes.
see him with his face between the bars and
But it appears as though the bar has
is it
grown
fused?
through his
Yeah,
head.
yeah,
And it's quite unsettling.
it is
Like there's
because
something about the image that's
yeah,
not as goofy as it should be,
no,
and it's somehow
no, because I
it's
was trying to
yeah,
figure out. I was like, oh, hang on, is it a mistake or is that why he never moves? Because he's actually been fused to the look. It's something
into the
quite painful looking, and he gets these close-ups, and yeah, there's loads of faces. There's some things you'll never see once, and yeah, they're, they're yeah, they're nightmare fuel. Those
yeah, they
things.
really are. And as I said, when we cut to the beautiful, cute blonde, and they've like taken the top of her skull off, and her brain is exposed, that's very Night of the Bloody Apes kind of,
Yeah, yeah.
Renee Cardona. Like this is, yeah, we're not sparing you the gore.
That's what
Like
I'm
we're
saying.
gonna
There
show.
needs to be a book about the Cardonas or a podcast or something.
Yep, agreed.
Yes, and
Yeah.
yeah, and so and that's about it.
Oh, right,
Really.
sorry. My
Um,
favorite part about this is what so Zovek gets captured by the two Fu Manchu guys who've escaped from the Blue Oyster, and he's like chained up in his cell, and then he somehow manages to escape using the sheer power of, well, he's Zovek, right? By
right.
his will alone. He's a Nietzschean Superman. He manages to escape, and then if his first act is like a spectacular act of self-sabotage. He opens up all the cages where all the
Yes.
cannibal freaks are, and they flood out and just start killing everyone, including like the people he's with, and they attack him, and you're like, Zovek, for your immense mental powers, that was a really shoddy piece of planning.
Yes.
Kind
Also,
of awesome.
the thing as well, it's all accompanied by this pretty great jazz soundtrack as well.
Mm,
Credited to one Raul Lavitz and It's a rocking score.
Yes, yeah. And it all kind of ends with I don't even remember how the bad I mean obviously a lot of the bad guys die in the kind of tsunami of cannibal dwarves and other
Yeah.
freaks and wolf men
The
that are running about the
fanged
place
guy,
setting everything
the
on
main
fire.
battle is the fang guy. He chucks him in like a pit of fire, doesn't he?
Yes,
Yeah.
which is quite cool. Yeah, and that's kind of the end. And then I think Zobek just says some bullshit
Yeah.
right to camera, and then the
To be
movie ends.
fair to the man's memory, sorry, but ZOVEK does pretty much speak nothing but bullshit across both of
This
these.
is
I
true.
don't think he says anything that makes the slightest bit of like not even something as prosaic as pass the salt, please, or anything that
Yeah.
makes real sense, right?
No. No.
Because it's
Um,
interesting as well. It's something about him. Normally, there's something about this kind of super egotistic, macho kind of asshole that there's an element that turns you off because you know how full of themselves. But Zovek is so like I don't know. He just seems like so into it
mm,
that he's at
yeah.
never point do you take against him. Like
And he also seems kind of confused. He has and maybe it's just the set of his face, but he always seems ever so slightly confuddled by whatever's going on. Um,
he just seems really earnest. Like a lot of people like that you can imagine them going backstage, taking the costume off, and like, haha, that's another one for the rubes, you know. Um,
yeah. No,
but he like
he
seems
might have
like he
believed his
might
own myth.
live it. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's
Yes.
sort of being unfair, but he just seems like it's a nice way of saying he's very authentic. Let's put it
Yes.
that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Um, no, I
but
really, really like this film.
it's
I like
great fun.
all of it. And I mean, and even the opening act, which is a bit slower, it's still got enough strangeness in it,
Yeah,
there's enough fun in the first half and the second half is like goes off like gangbusters.
yeah. I was so
It's
pleased because
really,
like I said, I'd seen the second one before, and for whatever reason, I'd seen it and I really enjoyed it, and I never got around to writing my review, and it got further and further away, and I couldn't remember the details, and I thought, fuck, this is due a rewatch. Um, and I thought, oh, hang on, why don't we do it? Because neither of these films are like properly available.
no,
The
yes.
second one we're going to talk about is on YouTube with English subtitles, and the first one is nowhere with English subtitles apart from fan
No.
subs, which so knowing that the second one was fun, and I knew there was another Zovek film, and I thought, there's no way the first film's going to be as good as the second. Like I thought it would be the letdown before we
Hmm.
get to the dessert treat of the second film. But no, this first one is actually really good
I
fun.
I think it has the edge. I mean, as
Yeah,
much
it
as I
might have
like a
actually.
lot
Yeah,
of what's happening, I think it has the edge because as you said, it's a bit more coherent. It's a bit more propulsive. Like the zombies, zombies are great, but they are
mm.
a bit slow and shambling and stumbly. And apparently, cannibal dwarves are a terrifying thing to
Yes,
face off.
yes. If you
Like,
see any on the street, keep away.
mm,
Yeah, no, yes, I think this is the better gateway one as well, right? Like if you're a bit more, the second one is a bit more for your connoisseur of like just what the fuck happened, spaced out,
yes. Mm,
bizarro cinema. Um,
mm,
so yeah, maybe give this a check out. And then when you're done with Incredible Professor Zovek, um,
yes.
when your bong water is truly brown, it's time to turn your attention to Invasion of the Dead from the following
Mm,
year. Again, a Rene Cardona joint. This time, Rene Cardona Jr. writer producer on it. The same year that he directed Night of the Thousand Cats, um,
wow.
which also stars. We have another hottie in this one as well, right?
Oh, yes, or is she German? I think
No, she Krista Linde,
okay, where's she from?
sister of Hansi Linde, and she was Miss Austria, 1962.
Austria. Okay, so,
Yeah,
German adjacent then.
and she's also
Um,
in she's in a lot of things, but she's in the spaghetti western Day of Anger.
Oh, okay, yes. All right.
Yeah, she's also got and her sister. I looked her up, Hansi. She seems to be in a lot of sexy films. You know, like the
Okay.
Tyrol or Tyrol, whatever they call those films from the the she's in like one of those, not one of the schoolgirl report, but one of the
Hmm.
adjacent kind of, she's in those
Series.
German Austrian
Hmm.
sex films of the 70s, which I find
Okay.
they're another area
Oh,
actually that
yes.
needs tapping
Very
into.
relaxing.
Oh yeah, yeah. And some of them I've seen some of the schoolgirl report films are really interesting because they are. Have you watched any of the schoolgirl report films, the German ones?
I may have.
Your Honor, I'm not willing to. My client, but what's fascinating about them is they are that mixture of, because they're from that time period as well. So things are a bit more loosey goosey in terms of like people weren't so overly concerned with like ages of consent and stuff like that. So some of that stuff
Hmm.
like, okay, this is how old was she? Was she? So there's that element, but then it's also freewheeling and light, and everyone's in miniskirts, and it's just kind of upskirting fun. But then there'll be like one story which is like, oh man, that's fucking depressing, and like they're real
Yes.
roller
Yeah.
coaster rides. I love this.
Right.
I'm always like, I have to be sat down and I've got my notepad. And I'm like, because they're like, you have to digest them. There's a lot
Mhm.
going on, and then of course you have to have a wank halfway through. So you need the time to watch the
Right. Right.
But I highly recommend it. We might have to do a show, but we'll mosaic our faces out when we do that, so
I think that
no
would be
one will
wise.
know
Yes.
who we are, because no one will
Hmm.
know.
No, no, definitely
Who's
not.
that? I don't know who that is in the stripy jumper. I have no idea.
Nope.
Um, so anyway,
So yes, Invasion of the Dead.
yes, with not
So
only ZOVEK, but also,
yes,
well, who is it? Who is it, Nick? Who's the second, the great second banana Mexican wrestler after the Saint himself?
I think El Diablo Azul, the Blue Demon.
Yes.
Um, Now, but is he in this? Is he in this because Zobek fell out of a helicopter and died, or was he always meant to be in this? I kind of wonder.
I'm not sure, but apparently, yes, that's what I read somewhere along the lines was they were making this film with Zovek. He died, and yes, they got Blue Demon in, and that kind of makes sense as well because I mean, it's funny. For instance, when you watch like the El Santos series, it's fascinating. It really is fascinating to watch those in chronological order because you learn how you see how the El Santo myth is kind of created
Hmm.
across the series. Like it starts off and it's not, and it gets it, and then of course we're not even privy to like all the comics and stuff that were running concurrently. So
Hmm.
there's a whole Santo verse, right? But even
Right.
across the films, it's fascinating. Santo is a crime fighter, but then all of a sudden he's a member of Interpol as well, and now he's
Hmm.
a scientist, and like
Yeah.
there's no
Hmm.
end to what. And so in this film, it happens with Blue Demon as well, but in this film, Blue Demon really does seem shoehorned into,
Oh yes.
what is he? Is he like an astronomer or something? I don't know what he is, but he knows an
Yep.
awful lot about
He
meteors,
sure does.
and
Yes. He's kind
he's
of,
the
I think
go-to
he's sort of the
expert.
internet. He's
Yes,
playing the internet. If people have questions about things, he immediately pulls up like stories about like, oh, yes, there were decapitated corpses found in, like
yeah.
he has all this
But his internet is
access to
just a
information
couple
for
of
some reason.
spools in the background, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it seems to be like in the back room of like a factory or something. I don't know where.
Yeah, yeah, he's in a boiler room somewhere, definitely, with his comic relief sidekick.
Oh yeah, we should mention Polo Ortin. Yeah, who, obviously if you're a genius astronomer stroke criminologist and you're looking for someone to help, you choose a
Yeah.
fucking idiot is what you do, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You're gonna want Jim Carrey for sure,
My
or
God, some of his
at least
asides,
the non-union.
he's great. He's so unfunny. He's actually quite funny. Like
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
his
No, he does. He
flying
somehow comes full
saucers.
circle.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I remember one of them the other night. My friend, his wife, you throw a plate at his head. You know, that kind of, oh, Jesus Christ,
Yes.
this is really, really bad comedy, right? Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, that office is fun. You got the, and then did you notice at some point he sends him to he opens like a safe, and the safe, drawer of the safe has like a little bookshelf on the front, like a tiny little book.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck
Yes.
is that? Who designed that? That's so strange.
It's cool. That's cool.
It is cool, but
Um,
it's anyway. That's just one element of this mad. Right. So to go back to
I
the
love the fact that this film opens with a dude wandering, like I think it opens anyway, with a guy who's hunting a jaguar, maybe, and that scene goes on way longer than
well,
necessary.
first of all, we get some pictures of space and
Right. Oh, and a
talk of
voiceover.
how big the universe is and blah blah blah
Hmm.
blah blah. And yes,
Yes.
and then in the desert, there's like a guy on a motorbike, and a fireball lands, and there's some dead
Right.
cops. And
Hmm.
then yes, some ranchero with like a shotgun hunting a jaguar comes across, and then so then I guess he reports it, and then yeah, we cut to Blue Demon's lab and the stupid comic relief and like a guy who's seeking his help. Um, yeah, and there's talk of all sorts of. I mean, Blue Demon talks about a lot of things.
He certainly does.
He talks
Hmm.
about a lot of things before he actually does anything. It has to be said because, like I said, I think he's brought in. I don't know
Yeah.
if he was. Yeah, it's difficult to tell if he was supposed to be in it and then they added a lot of filler, or if he wasn't even supposed to be in it. Do they
Hmm.
ever interact as Zovek and the Blue
No,
Demon?
they're
They
never
never
on
do,
screen at the
right?
same time. No, no. Other than I believe there's a Garfield telephone call from one to the other, but that's it. It's definitely a
But
yeah.
Blue
No.
Demon and Krista Linda do, though, right? They interact, I think. Do they?
I don't remember if they do. They might, but I don't remember. I mean, one of the biggest tells, I suppose, is that the zombies in each section are look nothing alike. Like the zombies in the scenes that
Right.
involve Zovek are kind of normal-looking human beings with a little bit of scarring or a bit of blood on them, right? But the zombies that appear in the Blue Demon scenes are clearly like leftover cast members from the previous Zovek film because they have full-on werewolf fangs and
Oh
like
yes.
they're monsters. They're not the zombies that
One
we're seeing
guy
in second.
looks exactly like a full-size rat man. Like if he was
Yes.
a midget, he would look exactly like Nelson de la
Mm.
Rosa in Ratman. Um,
Hmm.
which is another film I'm keen to rewatch one day. Is that on
Yeah.
Blu-ray yet? I don't know.
That's yeah. Um so so yeah, and so then we get Zovek. So there's also a scientist or I don't know, is he a scientist? Some kind of guy anyway,
Well,
who
I think he's archaeologist. This is Raul Ramirez
archaeologist, right.
and his hot daughter Cristalinda, right? And yeah,
Right. Yes.
they're investigating these cave paintings, right, on the side
Paintings.
of a
Right.
mountain.
So they have to bring in TV's Zovek because he's obviously the guy who can get to the
Yes.
bottom of this
Cut
case.
to
And he's
another that same introduction, and then a different trick. This time he's put in like a
just
coffin and set on fire, right?
fire, which apparently was one of his tricks he used to do, and he at least once ended up in hospital apparently with burns from doing
Oh,
that in real life. Yeah.
all right.
I mean, he definitely. I mean, Evil Knievel's another kind of a little bit, in there as well. I think
Hmm.
um, anyway. So yeah, so he shows up, and then he has a whole bunch of kind of almost ancient astronaut-y kind of stuff to say about these cave
Yes.
paintings.
Someone's been reading
Um,
Eric von Daniken
from
of late.
Daniken for sure. Um,
But also he talks about the soul of a llama and like
mhm,
Tibet and ancient Tibet,
mhm,
and even talks about like the Tibetan calendar being different from the Gregorian one, which is something we would be on about a few years later, right? Not that long ago,
mhm.
people brought that up when they were talking about end times and all those people clustered
Right.
up that mountain in France for the end of the world or whatever the fuck. And
Hmm.
I think Richard Stanley was there as well, wasn't he? I think because he's into all
Right.
that, isn't he? Yeah. Um, but yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of mumbo jumbo, but basically there's a
Hmm.
connection with. So later we do see there is a flying saucer, like a sphere, like a spherical
I
flying
quite like it.
saucer.
The
Yeah,
big black circly ball thing that's landed, and it's quite cool in a way.
yeah,
It's very simple, but it works.
yes, yes. But there's a connection between that and the dead raising it. So I suppose yes, that's the legit Ed Wood connection. Is it does seem if the film made that's the thing. That's how incoherent this film is that it makes Plan 9 from Outer Space seem like a really coherent, narrative,
Hmm.
logical film, right?
Yeah, well, we never
But
see the aliens. That's one thing. We never
no,
see any sign of these aliens that
no,
are.
we
So
don't
I
see
think it's more
Dudley
actually.
Manlove going like that,
No,
unfortunately.
I honestly think, and this is where I think it's not actually fair to Ed Wood, or is it fair to Renee Cardona? I would say Night of the Living Dead makes more sense to me in terms of Night of the Living Dead's excuse for the its zombies
Ah,
was a
yes,
returned
yes,
satellite with radiation that starts bringing back, and the scenes of the dead shambling around
yeah,
do conjure up to me more of like there's some beautiful scenes actually of like big
yeah,
open spaces, big fields that are just full of almost like Dawn of the Dead numbers of like Living
right.
Dead, and then you got the helicopters, and so for me, I got a number of nice little kind of like, oh yeah, that kind of feels like
Oh yeah, because
Romero.
when you get a zombie driving a car and riding a helicopter,
Well, that
it's
feels more Umberto Lenzi.
yeah, it's like a decade before Nightmare City, right? Um,
Yeah.
Also,
Flying
that
helicopters seem
they pull
particularly
the
difficult
same
one.
trick with the helicopter crash. You don't see a helicopter; it's just like some fire on the floor, right? It's like a helicopter
Yeah.
and ZOVEK looking at it, and then looking down, and then an explosion. But yeah, they don't even do the classic A-team helicopter flies behind a mountain, and you get an explosion, right? They don't even do that. Um,
No. But it's funny, I was thinking too, something about all the helicopter stuff and the helicopter stunts in the back half of the film started making me feel a little bit like, you know, talking a rope when there's been a hanging. I was kind of like, yeah, this is a little bit like grim, given that Zovek himself. I start to think like in this scene, how many more days did he have to live when he filmed this scene? Like, there's something kind of sad and grim about the film once you realize that, yeah.
yeah, I've never heard that phrase before. Talking about a rope when there's been a hanging.
Oh, it's
Did you
an
grow
old.
up out west or something? Because
No,
that tripped off your tongue like you said it all
no,
your
no.
life.
I actually think it's a phrase that I probably read in Anne of Green Gables. I think it's something that Rachel
Okay.
Lynn says at one point, or somebody says of she's like a
Right.
gossip and the kind of person who, yeah, puts their foot in their
But
mouth
I know
and
what
is
you
like,
mean. Something in retrospect, giving something like an ominous kind of. I was funny enough. I was watching recently. I was watching this gay hardcore film from 1983 called Gay Racula, which is kind of yeah, quite
point, given
amusing.
how queer friendly most versions of Dracula are already. But anyway,
Yeah, no, Gay Racula really goes for it, and the bits that aren't just hardcore, just
hmm,
anal sex and stuff, which, fine if that's an utility for you, but it's not
hmm.
really for me. But the other stuff was quite fun. But there's a scene in it, and this is 83, so you're just on the cusp of, AIDS.
Yes,
There's a
the
scene
epidemic.
where
Yes.
Gay Dracula goes into a 24-hour blood bank to like steal the blood, and it's a blood bank like full of gay men, and Gay Rackler goes there, and then the doctor's saying, "Oh, don't that you'll contaminate the blood and all this," and it's just like, oh man. In retrospect, this seems kind
Ooh.
of yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay.
But again, I
Um,
keep recommending them. The reason I watched Gay Rackula, um,
mhm,
other than just to watch it, is because the excellent Ask Anybody podcast, aka Cruising the Movies, did an
mhm,
episode. So I watched it and then listened to their episode. And their episode on Gay Rackula is quite excellent and very
mhm.
informative. And I learned a lot about um, because it's an area of cinema I don't know much about. So I can see it, but without larger context, because there's not that much information online about these films. So I watch the film and then I listen to the Ask Anybody podcast, and it's always like, oh, I totally didn't know that the guy who
Mhm.
directed this was also Dean Martin's favorite production designer at NBC at the same time that he was, stuff like that. So So yes, Ask Anybody
Cool.
podcast. Go back, check it all out because it includes you as well, Nick. It's
Okay,
fucking good.
definitely.
Anyway, yes, so zombies rise and fly helicopters and eventually get killed by pulling an electric pylon down on a field and sets them all on
Mm.
fire. Some not very good superimposition, but
Hmm.
yeah, so we've explained all this. And hang on, is there anything in terms of any other cast members? No, I think we hit the main ones. But the thing is, from the way we've explained it, I think it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. It's a little bit goofy again, comic book fun and all the elements, zombies, but I think the thing that's so peculiar about this film, and again, it might be because it was filmed in, like you said, this slightly ho-ish way, is
Mm.
just how abstracted from everything is in the film, right? Like it's a meandering's not even the word. It's just like it's so spaced out, isn't it? It's like what what's going on? But it's not propulsive like the first film, but
Hmm.
neither is it boring. It's just like you just get lost in it, and you're like halfway through, you're like, what
Yes.
am I? What is this? Like, what's going on?
Yes.
What's the story? What's the cave paintings? What's he on about?
Yep.
And it ends on like a not a really happy like we got because it's like, well, this will happen again one day.
Hmm.
And you're like, oh, okay. Like, it's not a happy ending. It has
No, no, it's
a
we
Pyrrhic
postponed the
victory.
inevitable.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like no, the world will end
yeah.
in a zombie apocalypse.
Mark
That's
my words. Yeah. It's just it's a very, very, very odd film. And like you said, yes, I think the first one is probably definitely the more fun one. But if you like a cinematic kind of puzzle to kind of obsess
Mm,
over. And this is I'm surprised it's doesn't have a bigger cult following. I understand the first film because other than the fan sub versions, it's never been available. But Invasion of the Dead, which you can find on YouTube, or Invasion of the Dead has been about. Like I've seen the title. I'm
mhm.
pretty sure it might have been. Do you remember in the very early years of Something Weird video where they were a bit more grey market and licensed, and they had like the Japanese Starman films
Right.
and all bunch of Mexican wrestling things. I seem to remember Invasion of the
They
Dead
might have.
being on the
Yeah.
list you'd see in Sectronic magazine, and I think it would have been subtitled. So
Mhm.
Invasion of the Dead has been around, um, but hasn't really picked up a big cult following, I don't think. Not even in Mexico, which is kind of surprising to me because it is such a peculiar film.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, when the zombie stuff gets going, as I said, it definitely fits into that bigger picture, in a weird way
Yeah,
of night, dawn, um, and there's a few moments that are really strangely hauntingly beautiful, like the big black globular spherical spaceship, or
yeah.
what it funny it reminded me a little bit actually of, and vice versa. When I was watching the Roy Spence films, I every now and again I was like, oh, this has a feel of Mexico to me. These guys from Comber, uh, County whatever, County Down. There was something about what they were doing, and there's something about this that reminds me of them in some
I
way.
think
But
it's a
this,
lot to do with making use of real locations and rural locations. And I think that might be one of
yes.
the things that is fascinating about Mexican. There's an awful lot of outdoorsness, and you've got the
Mm,
the, the sunshine, so that brings a certain kind of like a look to daylight scenes and
mhm.
stuff. And
But it makes the fantasy elements weirder somehow. Like it makes them, it gives them some sort of texture that's
yeah, well, they're
different to something
closer to
studio
reality
bound.
as well, in a way. Like in the one way, it's more of a fantasy world, but also, and I think this might have something to do with, I don't know if it would strike someone who grew up maybe urban in the same way, but because we grew up in the countryside and we learned to
Right.
dream in the countryside,
Hmm.
then it automatically, if you set something out there, it kind of
Yeah. There's a
it's
really
like a
strong,
yeah,
you're right, there's an oneric, dreamlike quality
yeah,
to these films. You feel like yeah, you said you hallucinated them at 2 a.m. in the morning, and they're great places to live. Like
yes,
again, I could crawl into some of these things. There's
yes,
a scene where Zoe is wandering around with his cute Austrian girl, and there's like a kind of almost like bombed out looking house. Like it's just this like
yeah,
wall of a
yeah,
house with a window in it,
yeah,
and he walks behind the window and just kind of stands there. And it's like it's an art film scene. Like it's not, you
yes,
know?
and like you
I was
said,
like,
yeah,
oh,
it is in that growing category of films you want to grow. Yeah, you want to crawl into, right? You want to have some like
hmm.
tour guide of
Hmm.
yeah,
I would love to wander around in whatever that monastery where they filmed the end scenes from The Incredible Professor Zovek.
yeah.
Um,
Or check out
you
the
know,
underground lair with the cells and the laboratory, and imagine
yeah,
stumbling
yeah.
across that. Like if you were just wandering about, hang on, is this where they filmed that fucking ZOVEK film? You'd spend the whole day there, wouldn't you, just wandering about and maybe
Yeah.
recreate some scenes, call up your cannibal dwarf friends. Hey,
Oh,
come on
yeah.
down.
Or just find that little safe with the bookshelf door, you
Oh
know.
man, I'm that's coming home with me. I don't care how heavy it is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
anyway, um, we're about
Anyway,
to get cut off, and I
Professor.
think it's probably a good time to wind up rather than bang on about this. I mean, these are
Yeah.
both
So what I
fascinating
think we should
films.
do is we should finish the show, not with our voices, but with our minds. We should beam
Right.
our final thoughts into the minds of our audience.
Relax, 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 or it won't work.